Hello everyone and welcome to this latest in our series of Buckinghamshire Uncovered webcasts. I'm delighted today to be joined by Charmain Clayton, who's the co-founder of Wellness Warriors, who's going to be helping us continue the conversation around alcohol use in Buckinghamshire. So welcome Charmain, great to have you with us, and please over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is my most favourite thing to talk about, so it's a real pleasure to be here and to be able to share with you about our Wellness Warriors journey. So it came about through a conversation with Lewis Baker and I, who the CEO of Phoenix Lifestyle Foundations, because we both have, I guess, a personal interest in it as well. I lost my sister to alcohol use in 2017, and Lewis has his own lived experience, and I think between that we were both just really passionate about trying to make that field and that sector just a little bit better for other people. We have both used running previously to support our own sort of physical and mental health, so it seemed for us just the best place to start. When I got my job at BNU, so I work at Buckinghamshire University, I sort of threw this idea out that what we would like to do is a couch to 5K programme for anybody that had struggled with drug and alcohol use, but trying to pull on the services that we have at BNU. So we created a programme where we bring anybody in to our sports lab, where we can do height, weight, blood pressure. We've got some really fancy kit that everyone's allowed to use, and we do our on-site nutritionalist, Phil, who is just absolutely amazing and a real advocate of all that we do. Phil does a talk on nutrition and the importance of it, particularly because our wave starts in January, and I think everybody's bombarded in January with diet tips and hints and tips and all that kind of stuff. So we felt that that was really important. We provide everybody with a water bottle, a headband, a torch and an armband for your phone, just because we didn't want equipment to be a barrier to people joining. We run twice a week, so we come on a Monday evening, a Thursday evening. We meet here at 5:45. We follow the programme, so we know it's safe, it's inclusive for everybody, and then we come back to BNU and we have a coffee. And that's kind of where the magic happened, really. Relationships were formed, people got together, they sort of shared their war stories, and it created an atmosphere where we are the most unjudgmental group of people that you will find. I think because between us, we've all been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt, that nothing phases us. So it just created a really inclusive, really lovely, wonderful, warm environment. So we meet twice a week, like I say. We go out, we run, we cheer each other on, and then at the end of the 9 weeks we pay for everybody to do a race. So the first few that we did, we went to the Thames. There's a charity there that host runs, which was great. I mean, we are honest, we're in it for the medal, so if the medal's a bit rubbish, we're not going. And the last few we've done at Dorney, and it is genuinely one of my most favourite days of the year, because people don't think they can do it 9 weeks ago. So to see their running journey, to see them over the line, is just so inspiring. Originally, we were going to then signpost people to their local running club, so they would have gone to Hazelmere Runners or Handicross Runners, but it became apparent quite quickly that they wanted to stay. So we went through the England athletics process, and we are an affiliated club now, which has been just wonderful for personal development. So we've helped people with LERF training, safeguarding training, which has just helped develop CVs where people have kind of been in and out of work, and kind of getting back into it, like quite a gentle learning environment as well. So we did the England Athletics, we were affiliated, and that was it. That sense of community just blossomed, and between us we've been out and we've done some volunteering for the 1CAM. So we've done some food drives on a Sunday, I, within my role at BNU, did a youth club so I support staff volunteering. We did a youth club takeover where we sort of traditionally we painted it and we provided them with loads of kit, and loads of my runners came up that weren't at work and were helping paint and rip up flooring. And so that Lewis and I often say, like, the running is great for fixing your brain, but it felt like that was almost secondary sometimes. When you have struggled with alcohol and you perhaps don't think of yourself how others people see you, the community that we created was so important and so empowering. And it just, in those early stages where you perhaps are struggling, it gave people something to do. We've learned we are occasionally a little bit like Nanny McPhee. We say we're sort of here when people need us. So they come when life is quite stressful. Maybe they are feeling very insecure. So they'll come, they'll do running club. Things start to level out a little bit. They physically start to feel better because they've been exercising. I think they get a sense of community from being in the club. And then as their other elements of life start to level out a little bit, and we sort of see them less. And that, I think, for me, was something that I had to get used to, because you form these relationships, you bring people in and then they don't need you anymore. So we have, we've lost a few people through that, but that's good, because that means that actually things are getting better for them out in their personal lives. And it's something that I think we will continue to advocate for. I think exercise will forever be important to me, in terms of drug and alcohol use, particularly with sort of obviously talking about the alcohol side of it today. But I think you don't need a huge amount to do it. We talk about going to Pilates and yoga and all those kind of things, and they're great if you've got the access to it and the funds to be able to do it. Whereas for us running, you just got to put a pair of trainers on and off you go. So we've created a really lovely little community that advocates for each other, supports each other in those moments of real need, without judgment and without having to. And we are really clear that we are not recovery workers, although we are, Lewis and I. So I worked for the NHS. I worked in a prison as a recovery worker. Lewis has worked down at One Recovery Box. So although we have that in us, when people come to us, we are not the recovery workers. We have the luxury of trying to do the other things. So I have a great team at BNU who are really supportive of all that we do. So it might be that someone says, I need help with my CV. I've got a great team in the business and law school that are happy to help do that. Somebody that might want interview prep, again, we've got people that are happy to do that. Phil opens up the lab whenever anybody needs it. We've worked with the gym to get discounted gym memberships down at BNU should they want them. So it's been a real holistic package of support that we are just so very proud of. We're just about to start Wave 7. We find that this April cohort can be quite quiet. I think January is always our biggest and best, because it's after Christmas, right, and New Year, and it's new me, new year, new me, and which is great for kind of starting the journey. It's cold. I tell people all the time, the very first one we did, it was -6 and snowing, and people came, and then the next week I thought they're not going to come again because it's still minus and it's still snowing, but they came. So yeah, we've got Wave 7 happening, which we're very excited about. We share it with our doctor's surgeries, our support services. We've got social prescribers that we share it with. We put it in all of our pharmacists and stuff. So and we genuinely are open to anybody that wants to come. We have a great team of volunteers within Wellness Warriors that started at the beginning that are our welfare officers. So we have sort of that peer support element as well in the early days. And I just think it's something that I will always want to shout about. I always want to advocate for, because I think alcohol is different now. It's everywhere, right? I used to talk to my young men in prison about it. We think there's probably 2 or 3 places that you can go where alcohol isn't sold. You go to the farm now, it's there. You fill up your car at Tesco, it's there. You try and buy a birthday card without it being gin o'clock or wine o'clock. We've got this culture of Wine Wednesday. And so when that thing that you are desperately trying to stop is everywhere, it's really, really, really painful to avoid, particularly when you are physically and mentally thinking about it. And then you fill up your car, it's there. You go to the shop and it's there. You go to the pub and it's there. You go to the cafe and it's there. So for us, these extracurricular activities that we call them are really important at showing people that and reminding people of their self-worth in other elements of life. And that's why we rely so heavily on our community partners, that we have a really strong relationship. The One Can, Amber at Mummy B, she's always been really supportive. Charmain at Capera, Wycombe Youth Action, just to name a few. And I think and so much for me at work developed off the back of this. We did our first ever drug and alcohol conference that Richard came to, and we had our runners get up and talk about their journey. And I think it just reminded people about being humble and supportive and kind, because actually addiction now, it's anybody and everybody. I think the data used to be something like 97% of our addicts are in homes. Only 3% of your addicts are essentially street homeless. Like, it is your neighbour, and it's the people you work with, and it's the people that you see daily that you perhaps don't know. And I think so it opened quite a lot of doors and avenues at work. And this will just be something that I forever talk about. I will forever shout about, because these people, they are often the most vulnerable in their self-esteem, their self-worth, and they need people like us at Running Club to protect them, to hold them for a little bit and just remind them that they are not their addiction. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Charmaine. That was a fantastic description of so many different things, but in particular the Wellness Warriors sort of journey and what you provide. There's just a few things that I was writing down there that struck me. So the sort of using exercise to overcome that is really interesting, and I think that's something was a theme of another conversation we had with a gentleman from Alcoholics Anonymous about sort of exercise was a theme in his recovery. I was really interested to hear about how supportive your employer's been in helping you get the project off the ground. I think that was really great, and good to hear about Bucks New Uni being being engaged in that way as a local employer, and also that sort of achievement element of what you're describing, sort of putting people through a program to achieve something at the end, right? To run in a race and to feel like there's the self-esteem that probably comes from that is I imagine significant, right?
Oh, race day. I don't know if you've ever done one, but you go to these race days, and runners are some of the most supportive people in the world. They're cheering each other on. So you go, and it's just it can be really emotional right at the start as well. So yeah, race day is amazing.
Yeah, well, you're not going to catch me at a race anytime soon, unfortunately. That's for different reasons. So, and then I think the thing you were talking about at the end there, about alcohol being so ubiquitous now in society, it's just absolutely everywhere. So if you're trying to get away from that, for most people it's not a problem, right? Most people don't have an alcohol addiction or alcohol use problem, so it's fine. Most people don't recognize that, but for that group of people where it's a serious issue, You can't walk, I imagine, more than 50 yards down the road without being, hit with some advertising, or be that on social media, or be that, walking past a pub, or all those ways you described. And yeah, like you said, I didn't even thought of the birthday cards, but yeah, that sort of, you can't even go to buy a card without some of them at least probably quite heavily featuring alcohol.
And I think, and that's why we picked some of the evenings that we did really carefully, because the hope was that if you are running on a Monday, you have got a focus on the Sunday night. So perhaps you don't drink on the Sunday night because actually you've got running club on the Monday. The Thursday meant that you were feeling good, all the serotonin, all the magic happens. So Friday, hopefully you're feeling a bit better. Saturday, we always do park run as well. And so then Sunday, so that period of time over that weekend, we hope when perhaps it's a little bit more hectic, we were trying to scoop people up and keep them safe then.
Yeah, and I think that's really great. It's great. And again, another feature of the Alcoholics Anonymous conversation that we had before this was around regularity and frequency, and going to things every day almost, because it is a daily challenge for people. And I think my final reflection on what you talked about was just how important it is to show the younger generation, to the and to put protective factors in place that are, because I think a lot of this probably stems from feeling isolated and cut off from society, and not feeling like you want to step out into the local community, into the local area. And how do we make sure that we've got a county and a place that has lots of protective factors for young people, so that they don't start slipping into what is effectively substance abuse, right? So I just thought that was a really interesting takeaway for me.
Oh, absolutely. And we've been really lucky that we're doing some research alongside this. And so we've done interviews with our runners, and a common denominator was that period of time between sort of 15 and 16 where you have no self-confidence, and so you use alcohol, right, and it makes you a little bit more chatty, and it gives you the Dutch courage that you might need to go out and talk to people that you possibly wouldn't talk to, and there is that, and that's such a reoccurring feeling. That's why the volunteering and that helping the community was so important to us, because that makes you feel great, and you are interacting with people that you might not necessarily interact with, and you are achieving. And so we're trying to get those feel good factors in other ways, because like you say, it's so hard to otherwise, and we're just trying to teach people, not teach people, that sounds dreadful. We're trying to showcase that you can get good feelings in other ways.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice moment to end it on, really, which is to say that the power of the charity sector, the power of volunteering, the power of all of the fabric of society that we have in the local community infrastructure, away from public services, away from businesses. It's all the other things that fill those gaps that are actually the thing that will very often make the difference. So well, Charmain, thank you so much. It's been really nice to talk to you today, and to hear a little bit more about Wellness Warriors, and encourage people who are listening to this to go out and have a look for Wellness Warriors if you're interested, and find out more about your organisation.
That would be lovely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Charmain.
No worries. Take care.